Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the AI Training Podcast. My name is Mark Latimer, the host of the show, and I have a very special guest today, Yuri Dvoinos. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Yuri is an amazing guy. We got a chance to meet recently. And Yuri, for those that don't know you, can you tell them a bit about your story?
Absolutely. I started off as a software engineer, and I was lucky enough to build my first consumer cybersecurity company. And ever since that moment, my first company got 50 million users, went really well. I've built over 15 different products. And of course, not every single product or startup was successful, which is part of the journey. And I got a lot of interest and experience. My very last recent startup called Figleaf, which is one app for total privacy and which helped people stay more private online, was acquired by Aura, cybersecurity company out of Boston, where I now lead their innovation function.
Amazing. And you are in what part of the world?
Right. So I'm a bit further east. I live and work out of Dubai, which is in the Middle East. And yeah, it's
Well, that's so cool. I haven't been to Dubai yet, but looks like a wonderful place to visit. Let's not skip over some of the things that you've done. 50 million users is pretty amazing. Um, what what was that like being a part of that?
venture. Oh,
Yeah,
success venture. Oh
yeah,
man, it's I have a really good friend who's also an entrepreneur and a builder, and he shared this concept that work is like a legal drug, because when things are working out, there is nothing that compares with that. I mean, I'm a little bit more content with my with my stance, but I think nothing can beat the feeling of hitting the product market fit. Like a lot of times people ask me, how do I know if I hit the product market fit, if really came up with something valuable? I can tell you right away that there are lots of very correct and scientific ways to measure that through cohort retention analysis, all of that good stuff. But you will know for sure when you will reach it, because it feels amazing.
that sounds awesome. It's so cool to build things. Tell me a bit about your experience building. How did it first start? I know you studied computer science. Have you always had a passion for making things?
I did. As a matter of fact, when I was and gosh, this sounds like this sounds like some old voodoo technology right now. But when I was at high school, I basically came up with my first product, which I'm super proud of. But this was extremely basic. I was buying some equipment where you could, with infrared sensor, and came up with a piece of software that you can plug it into your computer, and was frankly like a COM port, which is a very old type of port, pre-USB era. It's a COM port device that you could have plugged into your computer, which had an infrared sensor, and then you could use any remote, whether it's from TV or anything else, to work with your computer, whether you want it just as something simple as volume up, volume down, or whatever you want, go to sleep, whatever. You could have done that. So I was selling this through a classified. So I was doing those, and I remember I was very concerned about the packaging. I thought that the packaging seemed to be very cheap, so I was very obsessed by the packaging, and I did the manual. But reality, when people were buying that, were like, man, you even have a CD. That's awesome. Like that, we really need that. And I was making a lot of money. At least I thought I was making a lot of money. And that was my first product experience, my first job per se, which was very cool.
That's so cool. So a bit of a early start for yourself. When did you first experience some kind of noticeable success with software products?
Right. And and I think the definition of success changes. You
That's
know,
true.
I I was uberly successful when I was in high school, and but obviously the definition of success changes, and you grow up, you learn something more, you want to come up with a product that that will find a market fit, and then you want to come up with a product that will do even better than that. You want to come up with a product that will scale at every single stage. I think the most important part is to keep going forward, stay hungry for development, and keep learning, keep becoming a better version of yourself. And maybe I was lucky throughout my career, but it felt like right out of the gate, I entered the uni, and we started doing like a side hustle, like a web studio freelance type of thing. We got amazing traction with that as well. So that even though this wasn't quote unquote software business.
Hmm.
And then when we did the startup, which is now called Claro, it's a cybersecurity for Apple computers. That got tremendous traction, which was very wild. And so throughout my career, I think every single year, every single period, I was successful in some ways, but every single time when I look back, I'm like, no, I can do better than that. I can do much better than this. I need to improve this and that. So you know what I mean. I'm never quite satisfied with what I've done. I always think about, okay, let's reflect a little bit. What could I've done better? Like how do I improve this next time? And I think it's just the process. And with where I stand right now, I still have a bit of that anxiety to do something right, and I still have this pain of the perfectionist. I think I'm a bit, I have a little bit of that, but I learned to enjoy the ride. I learned that sometimes products won't work out. People just don't need them. Sometimes you can't really monetize really amazing product. It happened to me. We had an amazing product, playjammy.com, which is portable guitar, three successful crowdfunding campaigns, both on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. Best of Show NAM Award, Red Dot Award. Amazing product, amazing praise from music professionals. Very niche product. No software companion app. Hard, tough business model of the hard business. You multiply that by a very niche product with very little volume, and you're out of business. So sometimes it's difficult, and it's okay to accept that not everything will work out, whatever you do. Nevertheless, you have to enjoy the ride. You have to, you know, you you have to stay positive and keep moving forward. And this is how I guess this is how I'm wired.
Tell me more about this guitar product. This sounds super cool. I play the guitar. I've been playing for probably about 10 years now, and also really enjoy traveling. So a travel guitar, it sounds great. I have a Martin backpacker guitar, which if you know the travel guitars, there's not too many options. And how did that idea, I guess you play, or
I
where did this come from?
Yes, I am playing guitar, just a strict six stringer, classic guitar, nothing fancy. I'm not a very good guitar player, to be honest with you, but this the idea that I had was coming from another angle. I still believe that playing a musical instrument can significantly impact your cognitive capabilities, your mental health, your overall intelligence level. So I think this is just an incredibly helpful, beautiful practice. Another good friend of mine says that a music instrument is your best shrink. It knows where you stand. It doesn't lie. Amazing things happen when you play. And you can learn a lot about yourself too. So I'm a big believer in all of those things.
Hmm.
Although I'm cheating guitar with a piano lately, but that's another story. When we were doing the portable guitar, Artifon was around, which was the best in class product by at that time.
Hmm.
And the idea was to come up with a MIDI instrument. So it's almost like a synthesizer, but
Mhm.
with the guitar mechanics. So imagine you could have played any sound you wanted using guitar, and we also would be able to disassemble both parts. So the strings, they would be literally physically two different pieces, and we would have a sensor which will know how hard you hit the strings, and it's a light sensor, so it's very quite precise. And then we would have another sensor to understand, which frets you're pushing on. So that is how we would recognize which music you want to do. And then you could have played in your headphones, just like with the synthesizer. You could have had this as a professional MIDI instrument device, which was very cool. And we've seen a lot of people jamming around with the guitar. We got to the point where we had a second generation of jamming. But like I said, it was a little bit tough. I think this venture was very interesting because we actually partially hit the product market fit. It was a
Mhm.
good product that was highly praised, but we realized that it was very, very difficult to monetize that.
Mm.
And
Well,
it's an it's,
that's a good lesson.
yeah, it's a more rare lesson sometimes, and I was there myself. You can see that the product is good and it's very useful, and you're like, well, we just have to make it work, right? Because sometimes you're working you have a brilliant idea, or you're solving the right problem, but that just won't resonate. People
Mhm.
just won't need that. It's a much more common story. At least my observation is that people would either run out of money or they would struggle finding product market fit. This would be the two primary reasons why they would um, quote unquote fail. In our case, we went one step further, but that won't guarantee that you're going to build a big business out of that, which was a bit tougher, a bit tougher, and a bit more bitter pill to swallow, I guess.
It sounds like you were following maybe your passion and other team members' passion. Was everyone kind of a guitar player who was building this?
Absolutely. We had some amazing guitar players. Our head of PM is an amazing guitar player. He's the kind of the person that he starts playing, and everything gets around, and the conversation starts. But we also had extraordinary people who just liked the idea, that had nothing to do with the guitar or music industry, but they know how to do procurement in China whenever you want to manufacture something, or they had an amazing experience with Amazon sales over the Amazon platform. Or we had an incredible industrial designer, just a stellar person, just incredible talent over there. So I don't necessarily think you have to be a guitar player to work on a guitar product.
Very true.
But everyone who worked there liked the idea a lot, and what I think most important, they believed in the mission. They believed they were doing something incredibly valuable. And our mission was democratize access to musical instruments, inspire younger kids to play, so they can play anywhere, whenever. This is how we started off. We really believed in that. And I think that helped, as even though that didn't work, everyone had an amazing time. And this was quite an experience.
That's so cool. Sounds like a really fun project. Uh, Not always are you working on things that there's that passion element. I'm curious, when you were working on this, were you living in Ukraine?
Yes. Yes, I was living in Ukraine. So I moved out to Dubai about 10 years ago in 2015. But I was in and out in the beginning, and I was still spending a lot of time in Ukraine, as I was, and most of the team was also there. This was pre-COVID, but somehow we have always had this angle of being partially remote. So I guess we just had this, or I had this skill set. But we
Mhm.
did have a beautiful office in Kiev, and it was incredible time.
When I was living in Ukraine, I remember that rock was quite popular. Were a lot of the team members like rock guitar players?
Yeah, we have a very popular kind of like a hip hop slash rock and roll Ukrainian band called Boombox,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah, I know them. Two guys, right?
it's one front man and a couple more.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple more. They have someone. So yeah, it's a little bit more, but they had a collaboration after the war started, and they did the Kalina song with who was that? Man, just anyway, that we invited them to our almost like an annual celebration.
Hmm.
And the reason we invited them is because we were releasing the guitar and we wanted to ask them to play the guitar a little bit live. And it just was so cool when people that you love and you really adore, they're incredible musicians, they would use your product, which they did. This was the very first version of the guitar, and it wasn't quite perfect,
Uh-huh.
but it went well for a while. So
Do you still have one of these kicking around?
yes, I do.
You
I
do?
don't have it here in my office here, but I do have the guitar with
That's
me.
okay. We'll put up a photo or something so
Yeah,
people can
you can also Google Play Jammy, and you still have lots of materials in over Kickstarter or Indiegogo.
check it out.
Yes.
That's very cool. So tell me a bit more about what you're excited about with technology, the way things are changing. What is kind of lighting you up?
Well, solving problems, right? Everything, the world changes dramatically around you. Everything changes. One thing is constant. We have a lot of problems to solve. So it's the way I think we should see those as opportunities, which I think they are. And if you see a real problem, I think it's a real opportunity to make something valuable, get a reward from the market, have some fun, build something useful and valuable. And of course, now with everything that's happening around the AI, AI is a collection of multiple technologies. I think it's the large language models that are truly disrupting the industry. And I don't want to, discount the NLP and machine learning, none of those bits and pieces, but the large language models got to the point where it's it's incredibly powerful, and they're such a large magnifier. I think every single time we have some sort of hype in the tech industry, we tend to say it's like the internet. But this time, I really believe it's like the internet. It's like this general purpose usage technology that will change, and it's already changing a lot of businesses. So it's gonna stay here for a while, and of course, creates another opportunity for you to be more productive, to maybe launch something that it took you, I don't know, large team to come up with an MVP. Now you may get away with much less resources that you need to invest to come up with an MVP, and so on and so forth. So I think I am excited about solving more problems for sure, and absolutely tinker with AI, just see where it fits, how we can extract productivity out of that. So that's probably two things.
Very cool. Talk a lot about there's lots of problems. What kind of problems are you most interested in solving?
So right now, I work in cybersecurity, driving Aura's innovation function, and we've been doing a lot of work solving the scams problem. Scams, oh my god, it's literally the modern plague within the digital world. It's it's funny because the problem of scams is not new, but because of the AI, it becomes a much bigger problem than it was before. We first started to analyze, and we constantly analyze scams. We have anti-scam AI assistants for messages, calls, and emails that can protect you or signal for riskier communication within every single channel, as they meticulously analyze every single incoming communication. But what we started to see is that first, I think everything is being automated right now. Like the days where someone was physically writing messages, I think they're over. We can see that if an Instagram account gets hacked, most likely script of source writes DMs to all of the contacts over a very short period of time, and we see message being tailored depending on who are they writing to. And what's also interesting, this writing style is being mimicked. So it's easy for a large language model to mimic someone's writing style. It's a fairly easy task if you have a reference or a sample, sample of someone's writing. So there's that happening. But I think it's getting worse with the voice synthesizers. We see people are mimicking other people's voice. You could say that the voice synthesizers aren't perfect, although they are utilizing the same mechanics. If you have a sample of someone's voice, you can use AI to make the synthesizer similar to that original or sample voice, and this is how you get your voice synthesizer of Mark. They're not perfect, but if you add background noise, you're in the city, there is a lot of traffic, and it's also happens over the phone. The chances that this might be, people might believe it's actually Mark on the line on the other side, pretty high. So if someone calls you and says, this is a CEO of the company, I need you to open that link now, a lot of times people might buy in. So there is that. And of course, the deep fakes, right? So the ultimate scam, where you can see a person who looks exactly like another person, and they speak with a similar voice. And all of a sudden that becomes really dark, because I think the amount of misinformation and disinformation that can happen, and I'm sure it is happening right now, and I think it will only get worse to some extent, is just massive. So we almost have to rewire ourselves and say, hey, we cannot trust blindly every single communication, especially if it comes on the back of a risky request, like open up a link, send me something, blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of smart people are working really hard to contain that. But the AI, it's a tool, and it works both ways. So it's the problem that keeps me up at night.
Yeah, sounds like a challenging one. Who is Aura for? Who are you targeting as far as partnering with to, who's got this problem the biggest? Like, who's it affecting the most?
Yeah. So Aura is a consumer app for individuals and families. It's a suite of tools that is available to anyone within the US or Canada exclusively. And we have features from identity protection to anti-scam protection, parental controls, antivirus, VPN, all of those collection of technology that you really need today to stay safe online.
Very cool. And when it comes to your day-to-day, how much are you using AI in your work?
Yeah, not enough. But honestly, I think I wonder if we are just gonna be constantly using AI assistance of sorts, and that's gonna be all our day to day. Whether you're writing code or you're working on a deck or presentation or research, maybe the AI assistance will be different. Right now, people tend to use, Claude or GPT or some specific tools. But I wonder if that's, a very casual day to day that most of us will have. It's incredible how many day to day jobs AI can supersize. You can get things done faster. You can be way more productive. So to answer your question all the time, we have a really interesting tool that we've built internally. There is a lot of customer support feedback we have, and it's a lot of data. It's a lot of data. You can obviously come up with multiple ways to analyze this data, but how can we make this data more accessible and useful across the org is the question that we were trying to answer. And all of a sudden, if you plug it in to a large language model, uh, you can you can have this perfect user experience where you can just simply ask or chat with the large language model and get, the most pressing problems, the latest new things that pop up. And it's been a very good use case for us, even though it's a very internal one. And it's just one of them. But of course, everyone is still using the AI assistant in their own way. So I think it's just across the board, and we can see that a lot of people are getting way more productive by using the technology.
Tell me a bit about your team. You're working with how many other people, and do they all have their, specific kind of AI that, a ChatGPT subscription or a Copilot, what kind of from the workplace around the water cooler, what are people playing with or getting benefit from with AI and building things?
Right. So I'm in charge of innovation, and I think the key for being able to, be successful in a really large organization is to be able to move fast, although plug in to all the larger processes and functions and departments of the larger org. And then the way we got away with that was through a relatively small cross-functional team. So we have a bunch of several full stack engineers that can deliver pretty much anything from a back-end, front-end system, you name it, depending on what are we building. We have a data scientists, several data scientists and data engineers, of course, specifically for the projects that we're working on right now. I feel this is it become a recent inevitable part of the cross-functional team. We have a UI UX designer, so we can obviously come up with a user experience. A lot of time people think that it's just about coming up with the design. It's actually a much broader role in the innovation. So we're doing a lot of user interviewing. We're doing a lot of UXR. We're doing a lot of those user-centric studies. To be sure that whatever we are building is going to resonate with the market. And that's pretty much the team that we have. And I think if we need anything else, any other resources, we can either agree on some sort of ad hoc help or collaborate in the shorter term. But we would try to come up with a team that has as little dependencies as possible, so we can deliver end to end and go very fast to a specific milestone. And most likely this is a product market fit or a proof of concept, depending on, again, on what are you building and what sort of larger initiatives there are. And of course, everyone is very creative in the team. It's in the innovation team. It's the group of people that is constantly playing with all the tools we are using. You may, and I'm sure everyone. And don't get me wrong, I don't think innovation is exclusive to the innovation team. I think everyone is in charge for innovation within the company. I am a profound. I believe in that wholeheartedly. It's just this small squad is responsible for 0 to 1 initiatives, something that you don't incrementally improve, and you find those sustainable innovations. Something there you want to do a slightly larger effort, or go into the uncharted territory. And it's a very specific mindset of folks who like the drill, because you really don't know what you're building. You have no idea. You have to experiment and constant fail, constant learning. And everyone is, in the meantime, in the spare time, playing around with whatever. GPT Arena, we would, one day we would discuss like which GPT to use. Everyone is listening to the OpenAI Spring updates and then to the I/O, and then there would be heated debates about what does this mean to us and what do we want to do. Sometimes we would tinker with Anthropic. Sometimes we would go back to OpenAI. Sometimes we would try, I'm gonna host Llama, and we're gonna play around with that. So there's always something is happening. I think just the nature of the team is everyone has this DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you got a great group there, and everyone's got their own special special piece of the puzzle to contribute. And yeah, there's just not enough time in the day to try everything or learn everything. How do you prioritize what's most important?
There's definitely a lot of FOMO that you have in the modern world. You're right. I don't think we're capable of digesting 100% of new information. I don't think we should, though. I think follow your passion. Just the way I handle that, I have block time dedicated to learning. My morning time is just for learning, and I plan what I want to learn. Of course, I prioritized according to what I think or believe is going to be more valuable or more exciting, more important, more interesting. Or when you are working on a specific product, you are prioritizing around what will help you to accomplish the product. Like, for example, I did a custom GPT. It's pretty easy to do a custom GPT these days, so it's a great learning exercise. You can learn a lot just by the virtue of following the steps to do a custom GPT. It can be an amazing experience to test almost like a first level of defense communication for your business. You can play around with DIY tools like Make, for example, right? That will automate different flows. And that's also an interesting learning exercise. So there is a lot of interesting tools that you can use and play, and large language models. I think it comes down toward what are you trying to accomplish? Why are you learning something? Is there any specific reason or a pet project or a problem you want to tackle? And I think lining this all up will help you to unlock synergies, which is something that I recommend everyone doing.
Awesome. I love the topic of learning. I always like to ask people, what are you reading? Are there any books that maybe you've read that you kind of revisit, or what are some of your favorites?
So I'm reading Dune right now. The original Dune.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just a habit that I have. It's a pre-bed time thing that I do, and I figured if I read any business literature or something for work, it gets me some sort of feeling of anxiety, or it's an office vibe, and it doesn't work well with my sleep. So I do just casual literature before bed. For the business, I really liked the book, and actually my wife read this, but it resonated so well, called Negative Thinking. And it's a funny concept that a lot of people are saying you have to stay positive and you have to stay on a brighter side, which I fundamentally believe in. I'm the largest optimist you'll ever find. But the book is actually describing that you have to constantly think about what might go wrong, and you have to mitigate that. And they call it negative thinking, and I think it's more like for fun, it's a funny name. They catchy funny name. They
a bit of marketing.
Yeah, a bit of marketing, but it resonated so it blew up my mind. I'm like, oh my god, I've been an adept of negative thinking for a lot of years while being the most optimistic person in the room. That resonated a lot. I think how you have to be on the brighter side. You have to believe in what you do. You have to have this conviction that you are doing the right thing, but at the same time thinking what can go wrong, and working and making proactive steps that will help you mitigate those largest risks is absolutely what I preach and do a lot. And I think it's a beautiful concept that I've learned.
Very cool. I'll have to check that one out. Do you remember who it was by? I'm sure it's a quick thing. We could look it up. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Negative thinking. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about lessons. Is there one lesson that stands out over the years that was like something that, from an entrepreneurship perspective, that you learned early that has helped you?
There's there's quite a few.
If you could only pick one. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, it's tough. Oh man. It's all the stuff that we know today, but somehow these are the things that we don't necessarily follow, even though we know them. Unless you're going to build stuff that's going to resonate with someone, and you know exactly the audience for whom you're building this for, and that solves the exact problem these people have, and their hair is on fire, and they're willing to even consider a small startup because this is how big their problem is, it's very unlikely that things will go well. No matter how breakthrough your idea is, no matter how married you are to that idea, no matter what others said, I think having this compass of customers as the ground source of truth is uber important. It doesn't matter what, I don't know, potential investors said or your friends are saying. All it matters what customers are saying, and this is how you're going to build the business. And I mean from a product perspective, and of course there are lots of opinions you have to factor in. We all like ideas sometimes, and one of my mantras has been never give up. I fundamentally believe in that. I never give up, never ever I give up. But you have to know when to pivot, and that's a different thing. So sometimes you're not going to close door, and don't use your time, which is the most scarce resource, to pivot. I think it's another interesting topic. When to pivot might be a worthwhile discussion for a whole nother podcast. And I think
Absolutely.
Just the third one that I've learned is that,
Sure.
and we already talked about this to some extent, but the team matters. The team is the most important thing you have when you're starting off. And, it might be your co-founder, and, it might be a couple folks you're working off with. It doesn't matter, because the chances you're going to pivot is so high. And if you are an incredible group of people, you're all very talented, you're passionate, you're working together well, you'll figure out an interesting direction, you'll find something that you can play around with. And the other way around is you can come up with very skillful folks that will follow your lead, but unless they're, the group will believe in what they do and will be ready to pivot and take in all the learnings, might not help you. So I think, yes, solving real problems, using customers as your ground truth, and surrounding yourself specifically in the beginning of the journey with like-minded people that really believe in what you're doing, I think is an incredible foundation. It's a great start.
Well, that's fantastic advice, Yuri. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate your time, and I've learned a lot. I just wanted to say that speaking Ukrainian to Ukrainian, I know it's always great to see Ukrainians doing well in the world, and with everything happening, happy to see that you're doing well, and wishing you and your family all the best.
Thank you, Mark. That's really means a lot to me.
Well, before we wrap up, what are you playing on guitar? Do you write your own songs? Do you regularly go back to stuff? Is this what are you jamming on?
So it's funny when I started playing guitar, I was fairly small. I think I was in mid school or maybe even younger than that. And I was um, I was playing classic music. So we were doing nylon six stringer, and my favorite were Murano Porteno, which is from which I'll give you the name of, but the most iconic piece of classic music that I wanted to play was a national Scottish melody.
Okay.
And I don't know if I can translate it well. It's and I'll give you the translation. But it was funny. The moment I mastered this melody, the Scottish thing,
Hmm.
I quit the musical school, and
So
every
you were
single
just there for that.
yes, Astor Piazzolla. I was trying to remember the Astor Piazzolla. I really like his pieces, especially for guitars, like very powerful. And right now I play for kids. To be honest with you, my kids, I have a 2-year-old who's seems to be into the music. I
Hmm.
have a 4-year-old daughter and 2-year-old boy. The 2-year-old boy is into the music a lot. He would like guitar, guitar, guitar. So I would play, national anthem. I would play funny songs. I would play different chords. I would sing a little bit. So typically I play kids music these days.
That's awesome. Super cool. Yeah, it's become a passion of mine. I lived in India for many years and learned to play the guitar there, and it's also such a nice, what you said earlier about the way it can rewire your brain to think differently, and just a great mental health exercise. And yeah, it's very close to my heart. So whenever I find people who also appreciate playing music, it's great to chat with. Well, maybe one day we'll have an opportunity to play together.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I have guitar right here, so we can play right away.
I've got mine too.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
I've never played live before. Oh, sorry, it's really. I need to figure out the position, and I don't know if you can hear that.
can hear it a little bit. Bravo.
Yeah, it's not as good as in front of the script, but it was a quick
No,
improv.
yeah, for a quick improvisation, I think that's awesome. I'm glad to have a little music on the show. Well, Yuri, thank you so much again. Let's do this again in the future. For those who want to reach out, what's the easiest way for website, LinkedIn? How do people get a hold of you?
Find me on LinkedIn. I'm the LinkedIn person. Yuri, Yuri Dvoinos, Dvoinos. I'm happy to stay in touch and happy to find like-minded people, help young entrepreneurs build an amazing products. That's one of my passions.
Amazing. I know before we started the podcast, you mentioned that for this to be successful, you want to leave a little bit of wisdom. And I know that, in my opinion, it was very successful because as I was listening, I know that there's a lot of really great insights that you've shared. So appreciate your time, and yeah, have an amazing day. Can't wait to share this with people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.